This is Omar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Thank you to Matthew Macklin for joining me. 8 p.m. It's a little bit late, so I do appreciate the time. Matt, yeah, obviously, I'm going to talk about the events at Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday night. We didn't get to catch up with you afterwards, so I just want to get your thoughts on the fight and how it played out.
I thought, I thought AJ would be behind. I did say I think he'll come from behind to win late on. And actually, after a sharp start from Usyk, I thought he won the first four. Took the centre of the ring, came out fast, bang, bust it really. But then kind of 5 and 6, I thought, oh, here we go. Joshua started landing some nice right hands. And I gave him the 5th and 6th. So I thought, here we go. But then Usyk comes out as a good 7th, kind of kills the tide a little bit. But then Joshua has a good 8th. So, it was those mid-rounds then. It was like that battleground, really. But then Usyk just, I felt, from, 9 onwards, just bust it again, 9, 10, 11, 12. Which, that was where you were hoping the size of Joshua would have kicked on. But I think he was stood off Usyk for too long, and that in and out with the feet and the feinting, it just sapped him. That's Usyk's fight. That's what he's used to. He can fight like that, and all. He can fight like that all night long. He looked like he had another 3 rounds in him, where you could see it. AJ was gassed at that point. That in and out, that feinting, that concentration factor, that in and out with the feet. It's very tiring. That is, especially if it's not your game. And he was exhausted, I thought, in the end. Really, he was shattered. That's what happened. I think Usyk started fast. There was a bit of a battleground in the mid rounds where AJ did get into it a bit. Won the 5th, 6th, the 8th, but he just took. I think what it took out of AJ to have that success in those rounds meant he had nothing really left after that, and he was shattered. He was knackered. He was completely fatigued at that point then, and Usyk wasn't. He could still maintain that pace. It was an unbelievable event, one I will never forget, and it was a great fight. It was an exciting fight because, like I say, Joshua did come back into it 5, 6, 8. So those mid rounds, got exciting, didn't it? We thought, oh, here we go, but Usyk just found another gear, and AJ didn't have another gear. He couldn't go again.
A lot of people have said after this that, we're disappointed that Joshua didn't kind of force the fight and start quicker. But do we have to give credit to Usyk? And also, do we have to realise that Joshua was maybe worried perhaps about what was coming back from Usyk?
Yeah. Look, there's people are negative, aren't they? Generally, I think people are negatives. Like, it's not always what someone does badly. It's quite often what the other guy does really well. Do you know what I mean? There's 2 people in there. It's not what just AJ should have done. It's what Usyk allowed him to do. Usyk, you got to credit Usyk. He come out and he started sharp. He took the centre of the ring, and he got on the scoreboard straight away with the backhands, and he kept that really. Like I say, Joshua did try hard, I felt anyway, mid rounds, and had success. But I'd say what it took for him to kind of have that success sapped him. Then he was done after that. I think he had a good 8th, but I didn't give him a round after that. Like you say, look, it's all right saying do this, do that, let your hands go. And I was saying, I think he should have let his hands go more. But again, it's easy on the outside looking in when you're in there and the guy's fainting you and he's just taking that little half step away, creating that distance and you don't want to reach because you get counterpunched, and he's a little bit too quick for you, keeps fainting you, keeps making you reset and readjust. Like I say, it's hard. It's a lot harder when you're in there with someone like Usyk who's so good at what he does. I think, I thought, look, I did think that AJ would try and box his way into the fight. I didn't expect him to come out gung-ho. I didn't expect that and I just thought he won't do that. Having said that, in hindsight, I think that, look, if they have a rematch, I think that's what he has to do. I think he has to try and do what Chisora done. And I know that's not really how he fights. He's not a kind of seek and destroy, bob and weave, close the distance kind of fighter like Chisora is. But Chisora gave Usyk a hard fight. You know what I mean? He put him under a lot of pressure. And I think AJ just has to try, if they have a rematch, and I think the rematch is a bad fight, by the way, but if it does happen, then I think he just needs to jump on him. And not after 2 rounds. After 2 seconds, he needs to get on him ASAP, and that means clinching him and locking his arm and sticking your head in and whacking him low. He's just got to do whatever he's got to do. It's a fight, make it a dog fight, because you ain't gonna win a boxing match. Joshua could box. If Joshua boxed Usyk 100 times, he will never beat him in a boxing match. He's too nimble on his feet. He's too fast. He's too clever. He's got that southpaw. He's been fighting that way his whole life. He's got it down to a T. Joshua tries to match him like that, he'd be knackered, he'd be shattered, because it just takes too much energy out of you. He's got no rhythm in that kind of fight, so everything's forced. Everything has to be really thought about, and it's very fatiguing. That is. His only chance, in my opinion, of beating him is to jump on him from the first battle, first second, get on him, and just make it a dog fight. Use your physical advantages, lean on him, hook him, hold him, rough him up, do whatever it takes to do. Of course, there's a risk by doing that, fighting that fight, that Joshua gasses out, because that's a high. You're talking Hagler Hearns shit. You know what I mean? He's got to jump on him and turn it into a Hagler Hearns. Hagler Hearns was never going 15 rounds. No chance was he going 15 rounds. But Hagler probably thought, oh, don't want to stand off this 6 foot, whatever he is, middleweight, and stand there off and give him time and distance where he can bang me with that right hand. That piston-like right hand and that jab that Tommy Hearns had. He just jumped on him, dragged him into an alley fight, a street fight. That's what it was. It was probably never going more than 3 or 4 rounds, but he won the fight, didn't he? And I think that's what Joshua has to do. I think Joshua just has to throw his eggs in one basket and just gamble. Go for it. Go just think, listen, this fight isn't going past 4 or 5 rounds. Either I'm knocking him out or I'm going to be gassed. It's do or die. So you're gambling. You're either going to win big or you're going to lose big. But in my opinion, it's the only way he beats Usyk.
Matt, if you were in Freddie Cundiff's position and 258's position and were advising Anthony Joshua, would you steer him away from this rematch?
Yeah, I would. I just think I think the only way he beats him is like I just said, and that's not that. And even at that, can you even drag him into that fight? Because you still, Joshua hasn't got the speed of foot that Usyk has, so he might not be able to do that, even if he wanted to implement those tactics. Just because it's all right. I was having a conversation about saying he's got to do this, he needs to do that, but Usyk's quick and sharp. He's got the feints, and he hits hard enough, doesn't he? Yeah. He might not be concussive one-punch power, but he's a big guy. He can sting you. So, if I was managing Joshua, I'd say, you know what? He's just a bad fight for you. It happens. Everyone has. Listen, Marco Antonio Barrera lost to Junior Jones twice. His best career was, his best wins were after that. No one thinks Marco Antonio Barrera was less of a fight because he lost those 2 fights against Junior Jones. That was his bogeyman. I don't think Junior Jones was a better fighter than Marco Antonio Barrera. Or he definitely wasn't, I don't think. But he had his number. It was his bogeyman. He just had his number, and that's it. And I just think Usyk is always going to be a bad fight for Joshua. It's just a bad fight for him. So, you know what? Joshua, 67,000 people. What an event, man. We're all lucky, aren't we? We're blessed, man, to be at these events, working on them. And I just think, he's had a hectic schedule, Joshua. He had, Eddie mentioned it. He hadn't turned no one down. He'd done the immediate rematch with Ruiz, even though a lot of people said he should swerve it. He didn't. He went in and he won it. Then he'd done his mandatory with Pulev. He's done another mandatory in Usyk. If I was his manager, I'd say, you know what? Let's just take a bit of time out here. Let's take 6 months out. Fuck that rematch. Let them crack on. Let's see what happens with Wilder and Fury. Let's see what the landscape looks like in 6 months. You're still Anthony Joshua, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. You're the only person that's drawing, 70,000, 90,000 people to events. Do you know what I mean? Let's take our time here. That was a tough fight, that was. It was a tough fight. It was a hard 12 rounds. It was, you don't need him. He's your bogeyman. He's your junior. Barrera's Junior Jones. You just don't need him. Let him crack on, and let's see what happens with Wilder and Fury.
Yeah, last one there. I was just going to come on to that. So if Tyson Fury comes through against Deontay Wilder, which is expected, and if Alexander Usyk comes through against Anthony Joshua, which you now have to say Alexander is the favourite going into that, how do you see that matchup if that undisputed fight was made between Fury and Usyk? How do you read that?
It's just, Fury's so big, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's so big, and not so big, not just big. He's good. He's clever. He's smart. He's got, he's got a brilliant jab. He's fast. He's agile himself. He's hard to hit. Listen, it's an interesting fight though, because Usyk's Usyk's top. Usyk's top. Do you know what I mean? But so's Fury top. So it's that'd be a nice fight to see. Look, I think you've got to pick Fury. You can't pick against Fury, but I don't think. I'm trying to think. Is there anyone else that I could see style wise? Do you know what? I think Chisora has got the style for Usyk. As the heavyweight division goes, I think Chisora and fought Usyk again would give him a hard night again, because he's got that style. Chisora is very good at closing the distance, slipping, sliding, coming in low, getting on top of you. He's very good at that, and he's got a rock solid chin. He's tough as old boots, isn't he, Chisora? You know what I mean? He leans on you. He will hold you and hit you and hit you. He'll do whatever it takes to win. And he's very good at doing that. The other guys are just everyone else. Fury aside, I don't think they've got the speed of foot to trouble Usyk. He's too fast on his feet. He'll always be a step ahead of them. I just think, Chisora's got good feet. He's good at closing the distance, because that's always been his style. The other guys, I don't think they've got the speed of foot to trouble him.
Okay, Matt, appreciate your time. I'm guessing I'm going to see you on Thursday. You'll be there, right, for the press conference for Eubank Jr.?
Yeah, down Thursday or Friday. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, mate. Well, appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you then, all right? Take care.
All right, see ya. Bye.